always be in a state of tahara. Try to be in that state of tahara. Yeah. So كثير الشك. The back. Yeah. So permanent. Okay. So whenever, okay. I think so. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, كثير الشك, frequent. Someone who has frequent doubts, and so those frequent doubts should. Dhan or shak. I'm not going to go into the mantiqi because there's in the house we study this, we study logic, and there they say, oh, well, where is dhan or conjecture with regards to certainty? Where does doubt with regards to certainty? And there's a slight difference here, but nonetheless, just for a general argument, say this dhan means, you don't have a certainty. And so that conjecture, it may be najis, ignore it. Especially if you're someone who is kathiru shak. Why? Because one of the golden rule and standards that we have is what? Everything is tahir. Everything is pure until you know is najis. Meaning that if you don't know, then it's tahir. Only you have to have certainty to know that it is najis. All right? And so therefore, we go into the next slide. Hopefully, no, go back. Yes. So, no. I have. Okay. So there are three ways to know that something is najis. So if everything is pure until you know it's najis, there are three ways. Either you yourself, you are 100% sure, you know that, oh, well, I had this thing and I saw it, it became najis, then okay, yes, it's najis. You have certainty upon that. The second way is that if someone has something in their hand and they know it's najis and they tell you, hey, you know what, this thing is najis. So at that point, you know it's najis. Why? Because the person who owns that thing or has that thing in their hand, they are letting you know. Or if you have two witnesses who tell you that, hey, this thing is najis, then it is najis. When it comes to, and this is just a point, very interesting point that the Maraja talk about. I'm going to go back to this point. They said a person who has, they said a person who has kathiru shak, they say that even if that person, they say that even if he thinks that he has certainty about something, they said even ignore that. Why? Because they said normally that person who has frequent doubts, even when they think, again, they're like, no, it's not just a doubt. I think it is. If you say, I think, that means that, you're not certain. So that person who has kathiru shak, ignore it. Even if you're saying that, I think, maybe. Any of those terms, maybe, I think, is possible, then you ignore it, especially if you're kathiru shak. Again, one other golden rule, as I said, that golden rule is that everything is pure until you know it's najis, it's impure. So likewise, this kind of sums that up as well. So if you know that something is impure, meaning that one of those three ways, you kind of understood that, oh yes, this thing is actually impure. And so if you have a doubt whether it has become purified, then it hasn't. You still consider it as impure. Why? Because you had certainty it was impure. It was najis. And until you gain certainty at that point that it has been pure, you treat it as impure. And the opposite is true as well. That if you know something is pure, that, oh yeah, this thing is tahir. This thing is tahir. And you have a doubt that, oh, maybe, or it could have become impure. You say, no, it's pure. It's tahir. All right? That's kind of a golden rule. And that last line is pretty interesting as well. This is directly from what the Maraja say. That even if you know that, okay, this thing, I know it was tahir, could it have become pure? You're doubting, you can treat it as tahir. Even if you can investigate, oh, let me investigate, let me check and see. You don't have to. Why? Because you knew that it was tahir from before. All right? This is also interesting, and I left in parentheses, if you see 834. The reason why I left that is so that you guys can also go and you can check. This is directly from the Taldu Masail of Ayatollah Sistani, but also the other Maraja has the same thing. Again, if you go to sistani.org and you go to the section where it has the books on Islamic law, so therefore, and then issue number 834. And so there are cases where sometimes if the body is not tahir, because again, one of the conditions and requirements that when you make the salat is that your clothes, your bodies have to be tahir. But there are a few cases where, if your clothes or a part of your body is not tahir, then your salat is still okay, is valid. And so these are the 3 points that is mentioned in that particular fatwa. And that is, like, if somebody has a wound, a sore, a boil, meaning it has some pus in it, and again, it may come out on the skin, it may come out on the clothes as well. And so, and the next point is that yes, if those things are there on the clothes as well, it should not be bigger than what they call a dirham. And based on obligatory precaution, says what is a dirham? Look at your thumb. That first part of your that joint. So the top part of your thumb till it reaches that first joint. So if it's not bigger than that, based on obligatory precaution, then you're fine. And the last case where you can make salat when maybe your body is najis or your clothes are najis, and even if it's beyond that amount, even if it's a lot, they say that when a person is compelled to do that, For example, I'll give you a practical example of that. If someone was, maybe they were working outside, something happened, they cut their hand and it's bleeding, but the time of the salat is going out. They already have wudu or whatever. Time of the salat is going out, and I don't have time to go and dress this and put the, why? Because I'll miss the salat. What has priority? Your salat. Even if, that blood is there, it's bigger than what it should be. Then you make the salat, and then that is a situation where you're compelled to pray in that state. All right? And again, go refer to that. As I always mention that it's always good to kind of refer back to the Talmud Masal every once in a while. Even if you read one issue a day, it is good, it's beneficial. This also is a little bit connected to the previous issue as well, although it's slightly different. And so the difference lies in the previous is talking about the clothes which are necessary for you to wear in your salat. So there's a certain amount of covering and that a person has to have. We talked about that last week in that workshop. So if that becomes najis, then that's what the first issue about. This is about something very similar, meaning that you have a minor kind of item of clothing. For example, your socks. Or let's say, for example, a person has a handkerchief in their pocket. And that becomes najis. Then it says what? That even if it's najis, it does not invalidate the salat. It is fine. Why? Because it is a small, and again, this is what the small item of clothing means. So when it says small item of clothing, meaning that it's not one of those necessary items of clothing that you need in order to cover. So there's a certain area, as I said last week, that you must cover for the salat, for men, for women. And if this is a minor item, then you don't have to. So one of those issues, and I think it always comes up as well, like for example, the belt or wallet. Yes, it's better to take it out, but let's say, for example, it is najis, and you prayed, and you had that on. And afterwards, it was like, oh, I had the belt on. It doesn't invalidate your salat. Why? Because it is a small item. It's not a necessary item for your salat. Okay? Is that clear so far? All right. Pop quiz. Give you time to read that. So this is the actual question that was asked to the Muraja. So, so if an ant walks across your food, or you put something down, it walks across, is it najis or not najis? Is it okay to eat, not eat? Oh, just adds extra protein. Okay, good. Yes, right. So everybody pretty much got that right. So it doesn't make it najis, and it's okay to eat the sweets. Either you can knock the extra protein off, or you can take the extra protein. Well, there's a place they have chocolate covered ants. They sell them actually. Yes, it's chocolate. Next quiz. Okay, what about the vapor of items which are impure? So if somebody was boiling something, let's say, for example, that thing was impure, the vapors of that thing which was najis was put into the air, and is it okay, the vapor? Is that najis? Let's say, for example, I don't know, if they were lard or something, yeah, somebody was cooking with lard. Or, I went into one airport. It was, I'm not going to mention which airport, but they were cooking chitlins in the airport. I don't know if you know what chitlins. This is like the intestines of the pig. And as soon as they opened the door of the airplane, you could smell it. I'm like, oh, it's very pungent smell. So of course they're boiling them, and of course the vapors are going to be in the air. So, is that fine or not? If it's turning to liquid, then what?
It's turned into liquid, and it's, in fact, when it's touch, when you're close, then it's najis.
So the vapors will be najis. So who says that? So it's a thick vapor is becoming najis.
It's also small.
Huh?
It's also distant.
It's also distilled. So it means it's najis or not najis?
Probably not.
So not najis. Who says it's najis? Who, raise your hand. Who says it's najis? Who says it's not najis? Okay. Correct answer. It's not najis. So the vapor and even the liquid that it transformed into is pure. Why? It's Tahara. Good. So he knows the Tahara. It's changed its form.
Tahara is normally for something that completely changes nature. Like,
Yeah.
for example, you just you put on the sun, and then you will
Yeah.
for example, on the story of the
Yeah.
raisin,
Yeah.
you will
Yeah.
change it.
So if it was a liquid, it became vapor. It became vapor.
But become liquid again, or no?
Even if it became liquid again afterwards, so it's a different thing. It's been distilled. It changed. So it is not najis. Again, this is a question directly from that the Miraja were asked.
When the chicken was in the lard, it was a strong fume was coming out of it, and then filling the space. Are you talking about this vapor in the space, or you're talking if you're close to it? Which one is? Might be two different scenarios. It might, if you're too close to that, this is very thick foam is coming out.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're far away, I mean, basically in the room, it's spread in the room.
Mm-hmm.
The possibility that
So an example, okay, and this happens, and quite often everyone, I get this question quite a bit. So you're cooking a fish or meat, and so someone's cooking that fish or meat in alcohol. That happens. So they say, okay, well, it's a tuna or salmon cooked in wine. So what happens, and this is the misconception a lot of people say, oh, well, you know what, the wine burns off. It turns into vapor, so it is tahir. Yeah, the vapors are tahir. That fish isn't. Fish actually soaks up the wine. And in fact, even if you look it up, I looked it up before, even based on, chemistry, and, a number of chemists, they tested those fish and meat that was cooked in wine. And when they tested it, they said, yes, of course, the what is there, the liquid ends up turning to vapor, it burns off. But what happens is as soon as you sit that meat in it, the meat begins to soak up that alcohol. And then they tested the alcohol content. They were like, yes, that meat that was cooked in alcohol, it still retains the alcohol. So it's not permissible to eat. And then then they continue to cook it. It says, okay, well, after the alcohol was there, they continue to cook it. They said that in order to remove the alcohol from that meat, it says you have to char it. And once it chars, it's unedible. You have to burn it to a crisp in order to actually remove the alcohol from it. Yes.
But it's not really due to being haram or halal.
What?
I mean, it's not due to being najis or tahir. Wine to begin with is haram to drink, right?
Yes.
Or eat.
Yeah.
So it has nothing to do with being najis or tahir. Because if you touch wine, how do you know it's najis? Because it's haram, we're not drinking.
No. So there's one issue of being tahir or najis. There's another issue of being halal or haram to eat. Yes.
Yes, so
Correct.
touch wine,
Yes.
it doesn't really negate our, let's say, wudu for salah. We can wash our hands and go.
Yeah, it doesn't really get to wudu. No.
So it's not really najis. So now we're talking about najis on tahir.
Yeah. Yeah.
Najis, yeah, I know. You put it in najis, something haram, you put it in the food.
Yes.
And you eat it, yeah, it stays haram.
Yes.
And I agree with you that, okay, the vapor is halal.
It's tahir.
It's tahir, right.
Yeah.
But still, it's haram to begin with.
What's haram? The vapor?
No.
The wine is you can't consume it.
Right.
Yeah, you can't consume it. And based And based on some rulings, they say it is najis. So, but I'm not going to go into all of that because, but yeah, but yes, based on some rules, it's najis. But in either case, the point here was that the liquid that comes off of that is tahir. It's tahir. And let's assume that this is based on, yes, the wine is najis, but once it turns into vapor, it is tahir.
Yeah, provided you agree that it's najis to begin with.
Yes.
Sheikh, one question.
Yes.
For vapor, for something to turn vapor, even if the chemical form in that case hasn't changed, like the chemical formula is the same, it's just the liquid versus that. Is that still considered as tahara?
Yes, it's going to be considered a style. It's changed from a liquid to vapor. Yeah, it's going to. Yeah. Okay. So next, so the purification of impurities using a small amount or qalil water. So whenever you're trying to make something tahir, you're trying to purify something, and you have a small amount of water. In other words, it's not connected to a core, like from the faucet, or you're not putting it in a large body of water, then of course the first thing you need to do is you should remove that impurity. All right? Once you remove the impurity, if that impurity is on your body or on your clothing, then at that point, all you need to do is make one washing of that thing. So the water goes through, and you squeeze it out. If, you use the restroom when you do the purification in the restroom, based on obligatory precaution, you should rinse twice. So remove the najasat and you rinse twice. So that means that, again, sometimes you may pour water 3 times. The first one is to remove the najasat, the impurity. The other 2 is in order to make it tahir. And one of the things that has to be observed, and don't just, and this is like if you're using the like the little water, the vinay is going to be a little bit different. Why?
Because it's not jari.
Yes, exactly. It's connected. It's connected to. So, but if you're using like the pot, I forget the kuri, the pot. If you're using that, then you have to pour and stop. Pour again and stop. So that is 1, 2. So you can't just say that, keep pouring and it's just steadily flowing out of the little pot and just make the intentions that, okay, this is washing twice. No. Pour, that's once. Stop, then pour again. So that is how you do the proper tahara in the restroom. Inshallah, that's clear for everyone. So with that, again, we come to this idea, this concept about making clothes tahir using the washing machine. And so this is a question that people always ask about that. Well, this part of the clothes is najis, so, we throw it in the washing machine and we add an extra rinse cycle. Is that fine or not? And so these are the rulings from the different muraja, and you can read them, but I'll just kind of explain. There's 2 ways we can do this. One way is that, if I know that, I have some najasat on my clothing, you can actually rinse it out before you put it in the washing machine. So that removes, as we said before, it removes the najasat. And then you throw it in. And it gets rinsed, or at least it gets washed once. And that's fine. That's fine. It becomes tahir. Or if you decide, you know what, I'm not going to rinse it out. I know it's najis. I'm just going to throw it in with the other clothes. And what happens is that, yes, the washing machine will fill up. Usually that amount that it fills up with is roughly about a quart anyway. It's a large amount of water. Okay, so that first washing is probably going to remove the najasat. Then the second, when it rinses, again, that will make it tahir. You do that, the second rinse, which is always a little bit better to rinse, because sometimes people say, in the first washing, what happens? what happens? Using soap. And so again, that some people, it's not going to change it from being water, first of all. But some people have this, oh, well, I'm using the soap. Is it soapy water, so it's not really water? No, as long as you can call it, consider it water, then it's fine. And so that forced washing, most likely will remove the najasat. That rinsing cycle will make it tahir. And if you put it on the second rinsing, again, that will also make it tahir. And this is why they're mentioning about the like washing twice or rinsing twice. So the objective is to purify. So there's a difference. Again, when you can clean something, and it may not be tahir. For example, you can have something that's an item that is najis. It becomes najis. And let's say, for example, we take like today, we always go for those the wipes, the Clorox wipes, or these type of things, and we wipe it off. Okay, it's disinfected, but it's not tahir. We disinfected it, but it's not tahir. So there's a difference between making something tahir and so-called cleaning something and disinfecting something. So the concept of tahara in the ahkam is to, one, it removes the najasat, and then it washes it with water. All right? Is it?
Washing machines have multiple rinses.
Yes.
So you can really wash it once, rinse it multiple times.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So that way, so that's why I said either two ways. If you want to rinse it out before you put it in, meaning that you remove the najasa and then wash it, it becomes tahir. Or even if you didn't do that and you just threw it in, and because it has the washing and the rinsing cycle or multiple rinsing cycles, then it's fine. Likewise, if you have a small amount of water and you want to purify a sofa, again, you can read what the different maraja they've stated. Some say, and again, this may be for a sofa or chair, you can't remove the cushion. Or maybe the cushion you can't put in the wash machine. So if you pour the water on, and this is a small amount of water, and so, as I say, you can put the water on, you can press the water through, the surface will become tahir, and the middle will not become, will be najis. I'm not a salesman, but I would say this is a good reason to have a shop vac. Because if you have a little bit of water, you can pour the water on and you soak the water up. You remove the najasat, you pour the water on, you soak it up with the shop vac, put the second water on, you soak it up with the shop vac, then you're fine. All right? Pop quiz, really quick on this. I think we have a few minutes left, but this happens quite often. It may happen here while we're at IABA-2 eating. We have good food and we're probably rushing to eat, and sometimes you bite the side of your cheek, and what happens? Then blood comes into your mouth. So is the food najis or not najis? What is it? So one says it depends, one says it's not najis. I don't know. What? How much blood comes? How much blood comes? Huh?
No, it's not najis.
Okay. What?
I will answer.
Okay. Yes. Here's the answer. So the different muraja have given different protocols with regards to that. So Ayatollah Khamenei says that as a precaution, don't eat that food. Ayatollah Makaram Shirazi, he says that, you know what, if the food was on one side, the blood came on the other side, he says, as long as that blood doesn't touch it, then you're fine. You can maybe, if you're able to spit out the blood, or maybe take a napkin, you put it in, okay, eat the food. Ayatollah Sistani, he says that, no, again, if the food is on the side, the blood didn't get there, then no problem. You can eat the food. If some of the blood hit, then that's fine.
So if you're
No, it's not tahir. The blood is not tahir. But whether the food, whether the food has become najis or not, because if it's najis, you can't eat it. And so I told Khamenei, he says, based on precaution, don't eat it. Makarim al-Shirazi, he says that if you know that the blood has touched, then again, you don't eat it. If you don't know and you swallow, then you're fine. Well, this is the question was that there is blood. So apparently the person knows that there is blood. So, and again, this is a direct answer from the Muraja. And what's that? Okay, last one. How much time we have? Okay, we have about 5 minutes or so, or less. Next issue. This is interesting, and this goes back to the whether something is clean or whether something is tahir. So if your electronic devices become najis for any reason, so how do you make it tahir? Yeah. So water is the purifier. So you can sanitize it, which mostly we would do. Oh, let me take a wipe. Oh, this thing got najis. Let me wipe it off. So you've sanitized it. You perhaps removed the najasat, perhaps, but is it tahir? No. No. That's good question. So can you use the sun? The sun is for objects that can't be moved, for their earth, for a side of a building. For example, these carpets here, you can use it as well. But they use this way. The carpets is shop vac, or but yeah. So your phone somehow got najis. You sanitize it, but it's not tahir. And so at that point, you will have to be conscious of, oh, hey, this thing is najis. And so if you use it, for example, for some reason, I don't know how, but maybe if your headphones became najis, and then you're not able to run water over it safely in order to make it tahir, and then you're saying, okay, I've sanitized it, I'm gonna put it on my ears. But at that point, you have to realize that, oh, if I sweat, then what happens? There's a transfer of najasat. So as you use those things, you have to be very cautious about it if you're not able to make it tahir. Okay. I think it becomes tahir for what? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So a good question. So if it became najis and it dried, so it's still najis. However, if you're touching it while it's dry, then that's fine. It doesn't affect anything. Does not, the najasat doesn't transfer. So. You could do that. You could use, if you use like a small amount of water, just as I said, if you can safely do it, I guess, because most people are like, I'm not going to pour water on my phone or whatever. But yes, if you're able to use a small amount of water, first of all, remove the najasat, spray the water on, lightly wipe it, and spray again, wipe it, and yes. Not a wet cloth may be a bit of an issue, because if you're spreading it, then it becomes even worse. But you want to make sure that the water gets on it and it is removed from that item. So yeah. Okay. We have 4 minutes or 3. Okay. Question.
The water that you spray is enough to make the
So it is the water that you spray will be ma'a qalil. So a small amount of water, and then so you'll have to follow the process of making something clean based on a small amount of water. So for example, let's say for example the back became najis, right? And then I remove the najasat, Then I took the water bottle and I sprayed, and the water came and it dripped off. And I spray it again and it drips off. At that point, it becomes tahir. Huh?
For example, let's say
You drip or you spray it on and you use a towel. Yeah, you dry it. You soak the water up with a towel. So, yeah. Okay. Is that 3 minutes? 2 minutes. Well, we'll end it here. Actually, there's only one more issue that I brought up, but and this is a quick issue that has been asked. So, for example, if a person goes to a dentist, they get an implant or they get a cap, then those things should be treated like one's own teeth, especially as the professionals say, yes, it's basically like the person's teeth, and so it becomes tahir the way your own teeth become tahir. Let's say, for example, blood got on your gums or your gums are bleeding. How do you make it tahir? You just remove the najasa you spit out. Once there's no more blood, then fine, your mouth is tahir. But if you have other teeth that are not like your own teeth, let's say, for example, a person may have removable dentures, at that point you have to make them tahir through the other means by rinsing the water. Because again, the implants, you can't take them out, or those which are your caps, they're pretty much solid like your own teeth, and you treat them like your own teeth. So, sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi tahirin. Mm-hmm.
So if you spit the blood, then your lips will become najis or what?
does touch the lips.
Yeah. If it touches the lips, but you can spit without touching the lips, right? What's it going? You just.
And if you don't know, then it's tahir, right?
Yeah, if you don't know.